You're watching news at Prime. Let's bring you this now. The issue of pay for magistrates and judges has again come up. This time it was at the Judicial Service Commission interviews for the position of Deputy Chief Justice. Free State Judge President Cagney Musi warning that court officials are not properly paid, which opens them up to falling into the trap of corruption. Well, Judicial Officers Association of South Africa threatened to take to the streets last year, if you'll recall, over what they called at the time the big pay gap between magistrates and judges. Well, the group's president is Neelan Karikan, and he joins us in studio tonight to reflect on that very statement that was made by the judge president of the Free State Division. Good evening to you, sir, and thank you very much for your time. This probably has come as some kind of relief that this is not only the view that is held by magistrates, and that's the group of judicial officers you represent, but that it also comes from judges, the people whom you say are paid more than you are. Let's have you reflect on that statement tonight, that warning that if judges and magistrates are not paid sufficiently, they could be lured into corruption. Is that a fair statement?
Thank you so much, Collie. Firstly, I'd like to extend our condolences as JOASA on the passing of our former deputy president. It goes out to the family. And secondly, we congratulate all the judges that were shortlisted and went for interviews for the DCJ post. And we also are supportive of the recommended candidate, Justice Mlambo, and we hope as JOASA we'd be able to work with him. Now, that being said, the disparity in salaries, Collie, this has been highlighted not for the first time. You will notice that we were here together more than a year ago. And in that engagement with Newzroom, we highlighted various aspects. As it stands now, that discrepancy and disparity, particularly when it comes to the remuneration and the pegging from our Chief Justice to the lowest paid judicial officer in the lower courts, being the magistrates, the disparity has not changed. There has been zero movement when it comes to the major review. You might remember we discussed, we spoke about it. The IRC, in fact, was formulating a draft document, a major review report.
Indeed, I remember that. But it's strange that you're saying there has been no movement at all.
Absolutely. I'm going to say absolutely no movement, and that's totally unacceptable. Remember this major review that we speak of started 17 years ago. For 17 years, this major review has not happened. So that disparity between the High Court judiciary or High Court judges and the lower court judges in the form of the magistrates has not been attended to. Right now, as it stands, the IRC have done a report 9 months ago, and they were already late by 16 years. It's sitting on our president's table for signature.
I remember last year, you were very angry as magistrates to a point where you threatened to actually protest on the streets, which would have been the very first time we're seeing judicial officers on the streets protesting for better pay. Is that something that you still intend to do if there is or there continues not to be movement?
Look at where we are currently, Collie. You remember we also discussed aspects of potential strike action by the judiciary. We secured a legal opinion. We decided to err on caution because we are public office bearers. So it's actually improper for us to engage in that type of activity. But there's been no movement. Our colleagues on the ground, on and above, currently being in the process of litigating against our president in the form of a mandamus, compelling our president to sign off on the major review so that it can go to Parliament and be implemented. The IRC, as it stands, does not have a chairperson, and they don't have enough members. So which means they are not quorate. They cannot sit, they cannot make decisions, so nothing is happening. So that's another legal aspect that we need to implement in terms of getting the president to appoint people.
Yeah. I'd like to make a distinction between the Judicial Service Commission and the body that represents magistrates. We are told, well, as we understand it, the Chief Justice is the ultimate authority over the judiciary in the country. Surely she represents magistrates as well. Who speaks for magistrates when chips are down, as you explain things now? Because before they get to the president, surely they've got to be represented or advocated for by someone before they get to the level of the president.
Absolutely, Koli. We are currently in a disjointed system. Remember when we spoke the last time and we spoke about 3 arms of the judiciary?
Yeah.
We don't have a separate arm of the judiciary that we can actually say it's separate and independent. You have lower court judges in the form of magistrates, regional court and district court, that perform 95% of all judicial work in the country. And they are part of the judiciary, that's a fact. Everyone accepts it. But we don't fall within the direct auspices of our Chief Justice. The executive is still directly in control over the management and the functions of the magistrates. When it comes to acting appointments, that is how where we fit in. When it comes to tools of trade and whatever we might need, magistrates don't go to the office of the Chief Justice. And if you look at this budget that was recently debated, the 2.7 billion, the 2.7 billion is for whom? When they say it is for the judiciary. The judiciary that was discussed and spoken of, to my mind and from what I could see, was the High Court judiciary. It was not the lower court judges or the magistrates. We were not even consulted or invited to attend any discussion.
Okay, let's move the conversation forward. Where to now in pushing for this pay disparity?
Koli, we are in a very difficult position. Right now, magistrates have already issued a letter of demand to the president. He wanted until the 21st of June in order to give us feedback for the major review. Didn't happen. The deadline has passed. Currently, as Joasa, I am holding as president a special general meeting on the 7th for our membership to vote on litigation. And from all the proxies I've received, no one was against it. The majority want immediate litigation against the president for a mandamus, for the cost of living adjustment, for them to implement and appoint members of the IRC so that they can do their job. Beyond that, we're looking at aspects of pension. We are public office bearers. Why are we sitting in the government employees pension fund? We want a declarative from the Constitutional Court to take us out.
Final question. The aspect of magistrates being paid poorly, in your words, versus judges of the high courts, has that had a contributing factor to some of the ills that we are seeing? Magistrates being accused of being corrupt, taking bribes. Do you blame that on you being poorly paid, or is that purely a matter of ethical conduct?
Let me be very blunt, Koli. Absolutely. There's a direct link to this. But I must tell you, the majority of our judicial officers and lower court judges are not corrupt. They're not taking bribes. They're not doing funny things. But remember, when you compare a judge in the High Court who gives life imprisonment and a magistrate or lower court judge who also gives life imprisonment, but you give different types of benefits and remuneration to these same entities who have similar jurisdiction when you talk about quantum judgments, when you talk about jurisdiction for criminal matters, when I'm speaking of life imprisonment, that's serious. How do you give a judge, after 15 years of service, 2 years of salary, tax-free, as an ex gratia payment, but you give a magistrate with 20 years service, nothing? You allow that magistrate to sell 10 days of his own leave to survive. And when he reaches 30 years, he can sell 20 days of his leave in order to survive. So there's no benefit for long-term service for a magistrate. So what we are looking at, we don't have security, We don't have proper tools of trade. We don't have researchers. We have to apply for positions to get a transfer, as if we're applying for a new job. So administratively, even the Magistrates Commission has been failing us. But you come to the issue of the Chief Justice. Yeah. Remember, we've got the Magistrates Commission, but it's largely controlled by the Minister. It's not controlled by the Chief Justice. That is why I say this disjointedness is scary. Because in as much as it might be headed and chaired by a judge or deputy judge president, but overall its composition and control is falling within the executive. Our CJ, Justice Maya, does not directly control and inform the commission as to what to do. And the commission currently is more focused, to my mind, on misconduct, but not the well-being of its members. When it comes to transfers, leave, all those goodies that you expect a commission to be concerned about doesn't happen. You will see that.
Thank you very much for your time, Neelan Karikan. Very passionate indeed about the matters that affect judges of lower courts and indeed magistrates. Neelan is with the Judicial Officers Association of South Africa. Thank you very much for your time. We hope to take this up with the minister concerned.
Please, Koli, you must. We don't want our people to be taking to the streets, because what else are they going to do? No one's sorting this problem out. And we've spoken before. So we expect your intervention and continued engagement and see this thing through. We want an independent judiciary.
Thank you very much for your time, sir, this evening.